Thank you, Mr. President, lady and gentlemen of the Senate. There's a poem that I learned, and I don't know it verbatim, and so I pulled it up on my iPad. But I learned and first read this poem in college. And the poem is by Langston Hughes, one of my favorite poets. And it's called Live Your Creed. And the senator from Darlington knows this poem. I'd rather see a sermon than to hear one any day. I'd rather one walk with me than to show me the way. The eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Advice may be misleading, but examples are always clear. And the very best of teachers are the ones who live their creed. Now, I didn't read the remainder of the poem, but I've heard a lot of talk during this discussion about Fun Home, about the Bible. About the Bible. Well, the Bible and the religion that I've been taught discusses feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, and looking out for the least of these. And the point of all that is the same people that are talking about the Bible and relating it to this book, The Fun Home, are the same people who are placing obstacles, or some of the same people who are placing obstacles on early childhood education, are putting forth amendments not to allow the state to create affordable health care. If we're going to be consistent about talking about the Bible, then our actions speak louder than words. I'd rather see a sermon. We have a lot of talk about less government. But here we are, the state legislature trying to intervene, that's okay, I don't need my code, trying to intervene about what colleges and universities do with their funding. So if we are truly against government, why, as we sit here in this body as senators, why are we trying to macro manage what they do at colleges and universities? And so today I rise in opposition to this amendment because I believe that what we are doing by adopting this amendment is we are censoring our colleges and universities. And I believe that if the same people who espouse the values and the scripture today against Fun Home would be consistent and support feeding the hungry and clothing the naked, then I would respect that position more. We had a senator today talk about taking money from the College of Charleston and the upstate in the name of the disability programs. But he said that he wasn't trying to do that, but the essence of his amendment directed taking away funding from the 2 colleges and universities whose book list has been questioned. I called that an extreme amendment, and I believe that's an extreme amendment. Now, censorship is defined as the suppression of speech or other public communication which may be considered objectionable, harmful, sensitive, politically incorrect, or inconvenient as determined by a government, media outlet, or other controlling body. I submit to you, if this amendment passes, what we are doing amounts to censorship.
Senator from Charleston, what purpose do you rise?
Can we get some order, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Senator from Charleston. I submit to you that what we are doing, singling out the College of Charleston and the University upstate, amounts to censorship. And a moment ago, I shared with you the definition of censorship. Now, I represent Charleston. My district starts at Calhoun Street and moves north. And many of the College of Charleston students live in my district. This is not an issue that I envision that we would ever take this amount of time to discuss on the Senate floor. Now, I was not here last year. I just got sworn in January. And so maybe these types of discussions are normal. But I have to believe that the majority of this body will read this amendment and fully digest what we're doing here. We're talking about singling out 2 institutions whose leadership, academic leadership, chose to put books on a book list. We've spent more time in this discussion than we've spent on talking about health care for over 700,000 people in the state of South Carolina who don't have it. We've spent more time in this body turning the pages of the book Fun Home than we spent on debating early childhood education. Something's wrong with that message. And I submit to you that this amendment accomplishes the same thing as the fair amendment that was offered earlier in the budget discussions. It simply penalizes a college and university for putting books on a book list. So by voting for this amendment, and I know people want to move on to the next item, but we have to deal with what's before us, this amendment. But by voting for this amendment, we're sending a dangerous message. We're sending a dangerous message to our citizens. And I understand that a lot of senators disagree. Had I been writing the book, I would not have chosen for those pictures to be in the book. But the author has a story to tell, Alison Bechtel. She tells a story. Many of you heard that I went to the play. I wasn't planning to go to the play, but I wanted to see what all the uproar was about, what all the commotion was about. And when I arrived at Memminger Auditorium, I saw a standing room only crowd outside the College of Charleston, near the College of Charleston. There were people in droves waiting to get in the auditorium. Now, Miss Bechtel, the author of the book, she paid. She used her own money to fly many of the artists who performed in the play to Charleston. And there were people there from all walks of life. There were the young, there were the old, there were families, there were straight couples, heterosexual couples, homosexual couples. You know what? The audience looked like America. The participants in the play got a standing ovation. Now, for straight couples who chose to bring their children, they wanted to expose their children to the reality of life. And the reality of life is, in America, people think differently. We are not a monolithic society. There are people who choose to buy a red car. There are people who choose to wear a pink tie. There are people who choose, men who choose to date women, and women who choose to date women. But that is not our decision to make. You have a choice in America. And whether you agree with it or not, the legislature is not the place to micromanage colleges and universities and to send a frown and to send a message. If we want to send a message about something, let's send a message about feeding the hungry. If we want to send a message about something, let's act on this amendment that we have to expand Medicaid to over 300,000 of our citizens. If we want to send a message to something, let's operate in the purview of what this body normally does, and that is control issues that are of paramount importance to this state.